Maybe I should name my channel Not the Video Guy. Not the video guy to explain history, but I'm here now. This crazy ride that God has put me on. But I just want you guys to know I'm here to discuss the history and show you guys that we've been deceived. I told you guys I'd talk about the steel mill, and this is where I'm going with this one, is to talk about the steel mill and CF&I in Pueblo, Colorado. This supposedly taken at 1902. You can see where they're building a new building for CF&I, part of the administration building. And I believe that this was the urban renewal. Like, they've been playing this game many a times. The thing is, you got to go through and read history to show you. And I'll go through the history, but I want you to know one thing before we really dive into this. Let me pull this back up. Okay, so when CF&I was created, and let's see, we're going to go into Colorado because this is covering Colorado history. What I just came from was one of the Cokedale ovens that they have down in Trinidad. And we'll come up here to Pueblo, Colorado, and we'll zoom out so everyone can see that this is Colorado. And we're going to zoom into Pueblo. And I'm going to show you CF&I. Okay, so here's CF&I. And supposedly in 1873, I believe, they dug this out in order to make this lake for CF&I with water. So what I'm going to show you guys, and then this irrigation ditch was also put in, and it doesn't come from Minnequaw Lake anymore. It actually comes from the river, and they put all that in there. So blueprints are very huge. So why would I care so much that these guys built this and when they built it? What I want to show you guys is pictures. This is of Pueblo, Colorado in 1873 on Santa Fe and 2nd. So to let you guys know where that's at, because there's people watching this that have probably never even been to Colorado. And yeah, that's the hard thing about this, is trying to explain all this and have people really understand what I'm talking about. Because this is a lot of information to cover. It really is. But when you see it, you can't unsee it, that's for sure. And then you know exactly what's been played to you. So that picture that was on 2nd and Santa Fe, we're going to go down. And I put a pin in it to show you guys, but they were on this hill that they called, what did they call that? They called it Tenderfoot Hill. That's what it was. So I'm going to drop us down on the freeway just to give you an idea. And we're going to go back over here. And I'm going to show you the view that they had. And that's basically it. And they were looking back over here is where the tree is. And I showed you on that picture from the other ones. And that tree is the cottonwood tree that they cut down on Union Street. So all of this makes, when you understand this and understand in 1883 is when they cut this tree down. And so by 1900, when you have a town looking like this with wood buildings, they're not even using brick yet, it looks like. It's all wood. So they haven't built a brick plant yet, and they've been transporting wood in, because I could tell you that they don't have a sawmill or anything, nor to do milling for wood, because there's no wood around to get. Cottonwood trees ain't going to make suitable housing and wood for it. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Wake up, smell the coffee. I don't know what else to tell you. And then the other thing is I want you to look like this is the beginning, and they don't have a serious amount of outhouses. And there is one right here, it looks like. And then if you go back over here, here's a house, and you could see a outhouse right here, and it's by the river. So, well, actually, it's not. The river runs right here in Arkansas. So you have to understand what the city looks like from the history and to know. All right, the other thing I need to cover is arc welding, when that was invented. Basically, 1881. You can go to the history. You can learn about it, what they used before. But it wasn't until 1836 that they started using acetylene or acetylene welding, gas welding. And then they went to this electrode arc welding. And so let's go look at CF&I. Let's take this apart and so you guys can understand. And we're going to have to read later. I saved you guys from reading the first time. But this is how big the plant was. And that's 1902. It showed you full operation. So look at all of the electrical and everything that was done. This is a massive steel plant, largest east of the Mississippi, they tell you that. And the Rockefellers owned it, by the way. And when you understand the beginnings of this, you're going to have to read the history and really read what they're saying. And they'll tell you that this was all like a John Galt story where they just, You know, companies went under, they bought, they merged. I mean, it's crazy. So here, this is them working on the steel mill. Now these pictures are really hard to find, and I know why now, because you have to see there's a man standing right here, and if he is welding all of this, which he would have to. I mean, they would have to weld all of these panels because there's no way they could have brought that in on the train. So this started out from scratch, and you could see right there that they have all the piping and everything, either to bolt it together or weld it together. So this is a massive operation. And you can see the little guy standing up here on the very top. Boy, oh, should have a ship fit with that one. And so there's this one's the second one I could find. And you can see where they're still building into the steel mill. Now, I have this picture of this building and an earlier train, and I'll go over that later. But it's, yeah, when you understand what these guys did to us, you really, really have to understand that they have stolen so much history. Have you ever seen where a steel mill, they're growing vines up the side of of one of the plant buildings? I mean, so these guys, they took well care of these plants when they were finished. They were beautiful. Everything was, this is the thing. Our ancestors were meticulous. They were neat. They were clean and organized. Not like today. Not like today. And that's the other thing. I want to know who all coordinated this at the beginning, because this is all well coordinated. And you can see the scale of what they are building here. And this is not completed yet. And supposedly by 1882 or 1883 is when the first rail came out of it. Supposedly this plant was built to build steel mill, or to build steel rails for the narrow gauge railroad. And I can tell you right now, this plant was more than for the narrow gauge railroad. It basically was consolidated and sold, and it's way older than they're telling you. And this is the earliest picture I could find of them building CF&I. You can see where the building in the back hasn't, it's just a skeleton. Okay, so let's really look into this. And they even tell you it had roots in the Colorado territory before it was even a state. And 1872, I don't know if these guys are on our side, but they basically went in and bought a bunch of companies, and then they started the CF&I plant. And then, like I said, it depends on where you read the information, but the history is basically somewhat the same, but it depends on where you read it. You're going to find discrepancies. So in 1882, they basically produced the first steel rail. I want you to know its daily capacity was 80 tons. Okay, that's a lot of steel. And then the coke ovens and everything else that you had to make for it. And then the other thing is if that picture was taken in 1902, and we're going back in time to when they actually blew in the furnace or started producing the first rail, 1902 to 1882 is only 20 years. That's it, 20 years. Now, I could see them taking 20 years to build the plant. That's not a question. But that's not what they're telling you in history. First rail to come out of the plant was in 1882. First blast furnace named Betsy was blown in. And this is the timeline that you can go through. And so when you go through and you see this, this is another trusted historian website from the library. This is, sorry, sometimes I don't know how to put this where I'm not going to get in trouble for saying something, and, but I'm trying not to cuss on this one. It's really hard. I just look at this and I'm like, you can't, no. Seriously, wake up. Okay, the picture of Pueblo again. 1873 on Union, or Santa Fe and 2nd, and you can see Union Street in the back. So I know everyone's kind of really sick of me probably telling them, my files or whatever to go into. You can go into these. And what I'm going to show you too is Pueblo. And one of the things that I got was the red lines on this. That's not it. Okay, so this is what you're going to find is these red lines. And you can see the massive plant that they installed. Now there's a set of prints that, let's see. Let's go back. Let's take a look. This is the massive plant in the south side of Pueblo, and you can see how big this thing is. And then they did the re-retrofit. And what I'm going to tell you is look at the pictures. Look for cars. There's no cars on the street, so this is well before they had cars. Look at the tree growth. These are probably 40-year-old trees easily. And that's what nobody's comprehending is you can't grow trees this fast and build this fast. You can't. And this town was set up perfectly for doing metals with the smelting plants. They had 4 to 5 smelting plants. Okay, so let me see if I can find the red lines real quick. Yeah, I didn't stack the red lines in this. It's a good thing I was looking for it. So let me pull those up. Okay, so these are the original red lines that they had for it. I don't know when this year was, but I could tell you it's when they rephased the plant. And there's pictures and documentation showing how they revamped the whole thing. So within if they built it in 1882 and by 1900 within 20 years it was out of date, it was obsolete. I don't think so. But this was the massive plant. And then if you look at this red line, you could see where they added from the original. That's why this one was so very important, because it does show them adding on and repasting and copy. These are true red lines. And there you go. True red lines. You can see the red line on it. So when you look at this and you go through it, and the next is I'm going to have to go through each picture and then explain CF&I and help you guys understand that there's no way they could have built this plant in the time frame. So you tell me, how old are we? Are we 100 years old? More than what they have told us? So is 1880 really 1780? Because I'm telling you, this history does not add up, and it's very important that you figure it out, because we all need to stand together. And hopefully this reaches somebody that is good at videos and can make something of this, and to show the history and to show the irregular, forget it. I'm not going to try that one right now. Sorry, sometimes I just can't, we all get it where we can't say a word. Yeah, that's done.